If you knew you had only 24 hours to live, what would you do? Not next year, not next month, not even tomorrow. But now, right now, at this very moment, an invisible clock has started counting down. Every second that passes is a second you will never get back. What would you feel? Panic? Peace? Regret? The truth is, we live as if time is infinite. We assume there will always be another chance, another conversation, another day. But what if there isn't? Judaism teaches something unsettling. Every day could be the last. Not as a dark warning, but as a wake-up call. The great Rabbi Eliezer in the Talmud said, "Repent one day before your death." His students asked, "But how can a person know when they will die?" And he replied, "Exactly. We live under the illusion that we have time, so we delay what matters. We postpone hard conversations. We leave words of love unspoken. We push important decisions into a future that may never arrive." But if you knew your time was running out, everything would change. You wouldn't waste hours on meaningless distractions. You wouldn't care about petty conflicts. You wouldn't leave love, gratitude, or forgiveness unsaid. You would cherish each moment. Every word, every interaction, every breath would become intentional. Life wouldn't be something you simply move through. It would become something you fully experience. And here's the uncomfortable truth. This has always been the case. We have always been standing at the edge of the unknown. The only difference is we rarely realize it. So maybe the real question isn't, what would I do if I had only 24 hours? But rather, why am I not already living that way? Have you ever heard someone say, "My whole life flashed before my eyes"? It's a phrase often spoken by people who have faced near-death experiences, moments where time no longer stretches endlessly ahead, but instead collapses into a single, fragile instant. Suddenly, what matters most becomes painfully clear. People who receive a terminal diagnosis often describe a strange paradox, a sense of urgency, but also an overwhelming clarity. The small annoyances that once consumed their thoughts vanish. The things they postponed, calling an old friend, saying, "I love you," making amends, become the only things that truly matter. Time, once taken for granted, becomes precious. But why does it take a life-threatening moment for us to see this? Why do we wait until we are forced to confront death before we truly understand how to live? Judaism teaches that every moment holds infinite value. In Pirkei Avot, the ethics of the fathers, it says, "Repent the day before you die." Jewish wisdom places a deep focus on time because it's seen as sacred, not just something we pass through, but something that defines us. In Jewish tradition, time is even more valuable than physical space. That's why many mitzvot, commandments, are time-bound, because what we do with our time determines who we are. The Talmud reminds us, the day is short, but the work is great. But if no one knows when that day will be, the message is clear. Live now, choose now, do not wait. Yet, we do. We assume that later is guaranteed. We convince ourselves that we'll have time to fix broken relationships, to chase our dreams, to become the person we want to be. But later is not a promise. It's an illusion. At the Tree of Mind, we explore timeless wisdom and how it shapes our understanding of life, consciousness, and purpose. If you find these ideas thought-provoking, consider subscribing to continue this journey with us. The people who truly live are the ones who understand this before time runs out. Not because they were forced to, but because they chose to. If time suddenly became real for you, if you knew the clock was ticking down, what would you do differently? Would you spend less time on distractions? Would you finally say the words you've been holding back? Would you let go of resentment and choose love instead? Deep down, you already know what matters most. So why not start living that way now? Imagine waking up every morning with a number in your bank account. Let's say $400. Every single day you can spend it however you want. But at midnight, whatever you didn't use disappears. No savings, no second chances. What would you do? You'd probably make sure to use every last dollar wisely. Now replace dollars with seconds, because that's exactly what happens every single day. 400 seconds. That's the time we're given daily. And just like in the bank account, whatever we don't use with intention is lost forever. But here's the real question. Are we really spending our time, or are we just letting it slip away? We live as if time is just a background element, something we move through without much thought. But in Judaism, time isn't just a resource. Time is sacred. In the Torah, the very first thing that God declared holy wasn't a place or an object. It was time. In the story of creation, after 6 days of work, God rested on the seventh, Shabbat, and sanctified it. The message? Time isn't just something we experience, it's something that defines us. That's why the Talmud says, a person should repent one day before their death. But since no one knows when that day will be, we must live every day as if it's our last. Not in fear, but in purpose. Because time is not money. Time is life. And yet, how often do we waste it? How often do we let hours slip away on distractions? How often do we tell ourselves, I'll do it later, as if later is guaranteed? There's a famous saying, you can always make more money, but you can never make more time. Judaism teaches that time is not something you have, it's something you use. It's not about counting the minutes, it's about making the minutes count. The way we use time defines not just our days, but our character, our legacy, our connection to the world. If you had just one day left, what would you do? Would you love more? Forgive faster? Speak the words you've been holding back? Would you finally start living the way you were always meant to? And if the answer is yes, then why wait? Close your eyes for just 5 seconds. Think about how you spent today. Did it truly reflect what matters most to you? Your story is being written every single day. When people look back, what will they remember? Not about your job title, your achievements, or how much money you made, but about who you were, how you treated others, the way you made them feel. We don't like to think about it, but every single day we are shaping our legacy, not in grand, dramatic moments, but in the smallest choices. A kind word, a broken promise, a decision to stay silent or to speak up. Judaism teaches that our impact lasts far beyond our lifetime. The Talmud says, a person is recognized through 3 things: their cup, their pocket, and their anger. In other words, the way we celebrate, the way we give, and the way we handle challenges define who we really are. And the truth is, most people don't realize they are building a legacy until it's too late. If today were your last, how would you want to be remembered? Not for your successes, but for the way you showed up in life. Did you love fully? Did you forgive? Did you bring more light into the world than you took from it? Maimonides taught that we should see the world as if it's perfectly balanced on a scale, where one single action can tip it toward good or bad. That means every choice matters. A moment of kindness can ripple outward in ways we never see. A simple apology can heal years of pain. A decision to listen, to encourage, to be present can change someone's life. So, if you had only 24 hours left, what choice would you make? Would you pick up the phone and say what you've been holding back? Would you offer forgiveness instead of carrying resentment? And if you already know the answer, what's stopping you from doing it today? Some people don't realize the value of time until it's almost gone. Others? They live with urgency, not because they're forced to, but because they choose to. Take Alfred Nobel. When his brother passed away, a newspaper mistakenly published his obituary instead. The headline? The merchant of death is dead. They described him as a man who profited from destruction. Because Nobel had invented dynamite, he was horrified. This was how the world would remember him? At that moment, he had a choice. He could accept that legacy, or he could rewrite it. So he spent the rest of his life funding the Nobel Prizes, a name now synonymous with peace, science, and human progress. Then there's Bronnie Ware, a hospice nurse who spent years caring for people in their final days. She listened to their regrets, and the same 5 words came up again and again. I wish I had lived differently. Let that sink in for a moment. Not I wish I had made more money. Not I wish I had worked harder. But I wish I had lived differently. They wished they had spent more time with loved ones, that they had been true to themselves instead of living by others' expectations, that they had taken more risks, loved more deeply, forgiven more easily. And maybe that's the real tragedy. Not that life ends, but that so many people never truly live. The great Jewish sage Hillel asked, "If not now, when?" It's a question we rarely stop to answer. We assume we have time. We tell ourselves, I'll change later. But later isn't promised. Judaism teaches that we don't need to wait for a wake-up call to change our lives. The best time to live with meaning isn't at the end. It's now. Because one day, people will speak about you in the past tense. And the choices you make today will determine what they say. So what if you decided, today, to live without regrets? What would change? And more importantly, what's stopping you? These are the kinds of questions we explore at the Tree of Mind. Questions that challenge the way we think about reality, time, and the self. If this resonates with you, join our growing community of seekers by subscribing. If you had only 24 hours left, how would you spend them? Would you rush to see the people you love? Would you say the words you've been holding back? Would you finally do the thing you've always wanted to do, but never had the courage to? Now, take a moment and ask yourself, why aren't you doing those things already? Most of us live as if we have time, as if tomorrow is guaranteed. We assume we can always fix things later, say the words later, start living later. But what if later never comes? What if this moment, right now, is all you truly have? Judaism teaches that every single day is a gift. In Psalm 90 it says, "Teach us to number our days, so that we may gain a heart of wisdom." In other words, wisdom doesn't come from knowing how to live forever. It comes from knowing that we won't. We don't control how much time we get, but we do control what we do with it. Imagine waking up every morning knowing that this day is your last chance to say what needs to be said, to love the people around you, to experience life fully. Would you still hold on to grudges? Would you still waste time on things that drain your soul? Or would you finally take the risk, follow your passion, chase what truly sets your heart on fire? Think of the things you've always said you'd do someday, that trip you've dreamed of, that apology you never gave, that call you never made. What if someday was today? The great Jewish sage Hillel asked, "If not now, when?" And maybe that's the real question, because one day, time will run out. The question is, will you have truly lived before it does? Take a breath. Imagine this is your last day, no distractions, just this moment. What do you want to do with it? One day, your clock will run out. That's not meant to be frightening. It's meant to be freeing, because once you accept that time is not infinite, you start to see life differently. You stop waiting for the right moment and realize that this moment is the only one that's guaranteed. You stop postponing love because you understand that every goodbye could be the last. You stop living for the approval of others and start living in a way that actually matters. Judaism teaches that time itself is holy, that every moment is an opportunity to bring meaning into the world. But how often do we truly embrace that? We waste so much of our time. on regrets that chain us to the past, on fears that keep us from the future, on waiting for a perfect moment that may never come. But what if, just for today, you made a different choice? What if you loved as if it was your last chance, forgave as if you'd never get another opportunity, lived as if today was the day that defined you? What if you stopped waiting and started living? Because one day, that will be the only thing that matters. And when that day comes, the question won't be how much time you had, but what you did with it. Now, take a moment. Pause this video. Grab your phone. Call someone you love. Say the words you've been holding back. Make a decision you've been postponing. Don't just think about this. Act on it. Because the clock is always ticking, and the time to live is now. If this message spoke to you, don't let it end here. Join us at the Tree of Mind for more reflections on consciousness, wisdom, and the mysteries of existence. Subscribe now and keep exploring the questions that truly matter.